His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. Someone who needs no introduction, as this is the man that put forests and nature on the map, not only in this country, but across the globe. Your Royal Highness, we are so happy to have you here.
Thank you very much, Sandrine. I must say, I'm very touched by your introduction, having known you for a very long time.
Yes.
So thank you. And Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it was a great pleasure to, I think, see at least some of you at the reception in Kelvin Grove Art Gallery yesterday evening, and now to be able to address you briefly at today's World Leaders Action on Forests and Land Use event. This second session of the Action on Forests and Land Use event is absolutely vital, and I hope I don't need to tell you this, because it is here that we will explore together the scale of the systemic shifts that need to happen really urgently if the world is to succeed in delivering a positive future for nature and people alike. And I mean urgently, as so many people and communities are already suffering seriously from the increasingly dire impacts of climate change. We also have to act before the hydrological cycle breaks down altogether. Now that we know what the problem is, and having done our best to test the world to destruction in the meantime, we simply must talk about the solutions and the actions we can start making and start taking today. The first action I would suggest is to re-engineer the world's financial and economic system to disincentivize deforestation and reward countries and communities for the protection of their forests and the pursuit of a forest-positive economy. We will hear from leaders in the financial sector with ambitious plans to achieve this goal. After all, if we are to restore the critical balance between people and planet, we need to protect, restore, and invest in nature. Investment in natural capital, including fostering more species-rich systems rather than sterile monocultures, can support productive and resilient agriculture, forestry, and aquaculture, while avoiding the pitfalls of climate change, land degradation, resource depletion, pollution, and insect decline. Here, the 30 by 30 biodiversity target is truly critical. To support that objective, I helped to establish something called the Natural Capital Investment Alliance as part of my Sustainable Markets Initiative in order to help develop natural capital as an investment theme and as a means of mobilizing the world's financing and investment communities. But I believe you'll be discussing the details behind the NCIA after I have left here. The second action the world needs as a real matter of priority and justice is to safeguard and honor the rights of indigenous peoples and local communities who depend on the forests for their lives and livelihoods, and who are themselves wise and experienced custodians. In fact, I'm wearing what I've been given earlier when I met them, and this one comes from Ecuador. The virtuous circle of nature is something the world's indigenous peoples hold sacred and understand only too well, and is why we should listen to and learn from their profound intuitive wisdom. By contrast, we seem to have lost that vital sixth sense which should have prevented us from abusing nature in the first place. Today, though, we will hear from forest leaders and donors committed to fulfilling this promise. We thank those leaders for their bravery, their courage, and their commitment to protect their forests and the rich biodiversity that exists within them, despite all the dangers and obstacles placed in their way. The third important action we need to take is the implementation of an accelerated and serious global shift in how we produce and consume goods, decoupling this production and consumption from further loss of forests and other vital ecosystems. I'm therefore delighted we will be joined by leaders committed to shifting to new and more sustainable practices in this area. There is every hope that we can build a more circular, resilient economy, which is better for people as well as for the forests on which we all depend. After all, nature is estimated to contribute some $125 trillion to the global economy annually, if you can ever actually put a real value on it. And everything we use, produce, and purchase ultimately has been created from nature's inputs. In a circular bioeconomy, this requires taking a system-led view of global value chains. The shift to renewable bio-based solutions is therefore an opportunity to rethink industries so that they become nature positive and climate neutral, while providing new jobs and more inclusive prosperity. All these measures would shift our economy onto a more sustainable trajectory. And there are now signs that there is, at last, growing interest in investing in these solutions across both public and private sectors. However, if we want to see tangible and rapid results on the ground, and I'm afraid I do after years of frustrated effort, then we need to articulate and demonstrate the immediate and long-term value of these investments. This is why I established the Circular Bioeconomy Alliance last year to connect the dots between investors and local communities in order to create regenerative and inclusive landscapes and sustainable value chains that work for nature and people. Frankly, we have all had enough talking, so we need to put our words and commitments into practice. This is why, while I speak, the Circular Bioeconomy Alliance is working with local communities in 4 continents to restore thousands of hectares in more than 10 countries to deliver practical solutions through initially what we are calling living laboratories. By doing so, we will, I hope, inspire an entire generation of humanity who will be equipped to make the changes we so desperately need. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and I cannot believe how many times I've ended speeches like this all over the world during the past 40 years and to no avail, but I can only pray that this time this session will provide us with a real sense of the seriously urgent systemic shifts that need to happen to deliver on our vision. And I urge you all to take forward the work we discussed today with implacable resolve and determination to make things happen on the ground.